Om Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We were looking at the Vritti Jnanam, the Akhandakara Vritti. When you hear the teaching, Tattvamasi, how to understand Tattvamasi, it was discussed in detail. How Tattvamasi makes sense only when we do what is known as Bhagatyaga Lakshanam. So you have to retain the meaning of consciousness and give up all the Upadhikrita Dharma. For Ishvara, the Maya is the Upadhi. Jiva is having the Avidya Upadhi. Based on that, different dharmas or qualities are there. All of them one has to give up and retain only Chaitanyam as the meaning. So this understanding of this meaning of Tattvamasi only creates what is called as Akhandakara Vrittihi. Akhanda means that which is not divided. Now normally any knowledge which takes place, we call it Savikalpaka Jnanam also. Sometimes if you read some texts like Vedanta Paribhasha, in Savikalpaka Jnanam, one recognizes a substance and its qualities. So that is what is called, you have a connection between one substance and qualities, all that you perceive along with the connection. If you say there is a red pot, then you see pot as a substance and then it has the quality of redness, etc. You can say big red pot and all that, then bigness also is there. So like this, Samsarga Avagahi Jnanam, it is called technically. That means you are cognizing some connections. When there are connection means there are two things are there are divisions are there, correct? Then only you can connect two things and understand. That is what is called, you can call all of that as Khanda Vritti. Because there are many things which you are perceiving in one cognition with the connections between them also, the samsarga. But when you are understanding the swarupa of anything, you are understanding it as it is. There is no, you are not bringing in anything else, any other quality, etc. Particularly when we talk about Tattvamasi, there your understanding of yourself is as a partless whole consciousness, which itself is complete in all respects, which is the source of all happiness, all that. So there are no divisions there. That's why it is called Akhanda. So when you understand yourself as a partless whole, there is no khanda, there are no divisions, there are no parts. There is no two thing, in fact. So that is the understanding we are talking about. That vritti, that cognition also takes place in one's mind only. And that cognition itself, again, the vritti is momentary only, correct? Any state of mind or modification of mind, which we call as a vritti, is not permanent. But when that vritti happens, it destroys the ajnanam, and the vritti also has to go away. Okay. So that's what I think we saw up to this 173, where this author is talking about this vritti itself is removing the ajnanam. But one important point which we have to note with reference to Atma Jnanam is every other Jnanam, we know the object of knowledge as an object, correct? Because we objectify it in the mind. Even remote things, also we objectify it in mind. So, this particular thing, we have to understand that whenever any knowledge takes place, the thing is, I know this is a part and I know this as a part, correct? This means it's an object of my cognition. We have objectified it with our mind. That's what is a normal cognition. But when we talk about aham, atma, atma can never be an object of your cognition. That is where it differs. That's where this knowledge itself is subtle and it can be sometimes difficult to get. But it need not be objectified because aham is self-revealing, self-existent reality. It is always available to you. Aham, aham iti. So I am always the eternal subject. In fact, the status of being the subject also is actually not intrinsic to me. I am just a conscious being. That's it. The status of being a subject also is only dependent on if there is an object and there is an instrument to know that object, like the mind, etc. When you are in deep sleep, you are basically as you are. So, this particular thing we have to understand that the Akhandakara Vritti only removes the ignorance with reference to oneself, but it does not objectify oneself. That is the important point, because it cannot also objectify. How can, it is like saying that you have a lamp which is actually lighting up the sun, correct? That is not going to happen. In fact, the lamp will be overpowered by the sunlight. We don't require a lamp to light up the sun. So like that, this Akhandakara Vritti does not light up the Atma or anything. For all other Jada Padartha, the Vritti itself, we say that it actually lights it up or it makes it as an object of cognition or an object of knowledge. But in this case, the ignorance alone goes. Now, this he talked about here. So you can see Tatra Pratibimbitam Chaitanyam api yata Deepa Prabha Aditya Prabhava Bhasana Asamartha Sati. Okay, so the Deepa Prabha, the light of the lamp, is not capable of lighting up the Aditya or sun. And Taya Abhibhuta Bhavati, it becomes overpowered by that. Tatha Swayam Prakashamana Pratyag Abhinna Parabrahma Avabhasana Anarhataya. So Anarhataya means it is not capable, basically. So what we are saying is this Swayam Prakasha, that which is self-revealing, and that is the innermost self, which is not separate from yourself, this Parabrahman, that cannot be lighted up or objectified. Okay, the mind or the manovritti, the state of mind or modification of mind is not capable of objectifying oneself, because the mind itself is becoming sentient only due to this self. The self is pratyag even to the mind. Mind can only objectify what is external to it. So that is why this word pratyag also is used here to show you that Atma is innermost. So it cannot be objectified by your mind. And in fact, The mind is overpowered means mind itself is becoming sentient only due to the manifestation of the consciousness in the manovritti. So that being the case, tena abhibhutam sat swa upadhi bhuta akhanda vrittehe bhaditatvat darpana abhave mukha pratibimbasya mukha matratva vat pratyek abhinna parabrahma matram bhavati. So once this vritti, which is also part of the mind only, correct? The vritti is basically a modification or a state of mind. It is part of the mano upadhi only, swa upadhi bhuta. So the knower, once the atma's upadhi mind is there, a particular mind, in that this akhandakara vritti is happening. And once that vritti happens, what happens? That mind, everything also becomes badita, correct? One's own mind, one's own individuality is negated. There is no more individual. See, individual only is first the mumukshu, jijnasu. But once you get the knowledge, that very individuality is negated, because you understand very clearly individuality also is not intrinsic to you. Individuality comes and goes. In the waking, you have a certain individuality. In dream, you may take up some other body, mind, sense complex also. You identify as something else. In deep sleep, there is no individuality. There is no separate I as an individual. But I am there. So this individuality is coming and going. It is changing. So it cannot be your very nature. It is not real. Whatever is real can never change. The only thing which never changes with reference to ourselves is that I am a conscious being. That never changes. That is the only invariable. Consciousness is the only invariable in every cognition. So that is Satyam, that is me. And that alone remains. Then once this vritti also comes and goes, the vritti negates your very individuality. Means he says it's like the darpana bhave. See, till now we were talking about a reflection and all that, but if the mirror itself is not there, what is there to be reflected? There is nothing. The mirror itself is negated in this case. The mirror is really the mind, the upadhi, the sukshma sharira as a upadhi is the mirror. All the whatever body, mind, sense complex is the mirror you can take, but that very identity that I am confined to a particular body, mind, sense complex is negated. It is badita. Means there cannot be any mukha pratibimba and all cannot be there. If only there is a mirror, you can see the reflection of your face. But once the mirror itself is negated, it is destroyed, then what is there? Only the face alone is there. Okay. Like that here, Brahman alone is there. You are Brahman. That is the only reality. You have to be. There is no becoming anything else. Being is the important thing. So, pratyek abhinna parabrahma matram bhavati. This bhavati also, you become this Brahman which is non-separate from yourself. Like that, even though we say this become and all, you have to, or you have to take it as more than become. Bhavati can be taken as you are. You are Brahman. You were Brahman, you are Brahman, you are always Brahman. There is nothing to become or anything there. Even if we say become, it is only with reference to knowledge. Whatever you lost due to ignorance, you have got it with knowledge. So that is the thing. Now, so having said all this, now the author is going to also quote certain things. Evam cha sati. So this being like this, manasa eva anudrashtavyam. So the Brihadaranyaka, it is there. Sruti. This Atma has to be seen only by one's mind. No, this is all very important statement. Because in modern Vedanta, people confuse everybody saying that you have to go beyond the mind. You have to transcend the mind and all that. So don't read anything. Why are you reading any Shastra? Sit, try to turn your gaze inward, go inside yourself. Why are you looking outside into the Shastra? Don't study anything, just do meditation and all that. And you have to somehow, some people talk about supra-mental and all that. Of course, Brahman is supra-mental. Nobody has any problem with that. But where do you understand that? Only in the mind. Correct? That Brahman, that I am supra-mental, I am as a reality, I transcend my body, mind, sense complex, has to be understood only in the mind finally. Understand that. Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. Because these people also quote Shruti also sometimes. Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha. That is Taittiriya Shruti. Or here the author quotes Kena Upanishad. Yen manasana manute yena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi yen nedam ididam upasate. Drishte drashtaram kena vijaniyaha vijnatare vijnataram. All these are there even in Brihadaranyaka also. This is Kena Upanishad also similar. So that which is not, that which cannot be thought about or thought by mind as an object, but mind itself is mind, due to which that is Brahman. Know that as Brahman. Like this, Kena Upanishad also beautifully teaches. So now, once we give an explanation like this, that the Manasa Eva Anudrashtavyam part is the where you have this vritti, Akhandakara vritti. So the Akhandakara vritti takes place in the mind, and due to that only you have an appreciation about yourself properly. But that vritti does not objectify, or it cannot objectify yourself. So this Yanmanasana Manute, all or whatever, Yato Vacho Nivartante Aprapya Manasa Saha, all these Shruti Vakyas also you can now reconcile. Correct? One side we understand the reality of oneself as I am transcending all these things. I am beyond space-time. Space-time is in me. I am not somebody who is in space-time occupying a particular body, mind, sense complex. That is the identity which I start the study. But then Vedanta is showing me a totally different vision about myself. Once I appreciate that, my whole self-identity has to transform. So with that transformation, I understand myself as somebody who is beyond space-time itself. Then what about all this body, mind, sense complex in space-time, in waking, etc.? This is all nothing. So my reality is beyond all these things. Space-time itself or beyond mind, etc. There is no problem in understanding that. But that understanding itself, where did it take place? Only in a particular mind. That person only is a jnani, correct? Jnani also is only with reference to the upadhi. Brahman is really not jnani also. Brahman cannot be said as jnani. The jnani knows that I am not a jnani. Because the jnani status also is only in the vyavahara. Okay. And of course, in the vyavahara, jnani only has to teach. Only once you know the truth, you can teach it with any conviction, correct? Unless you teach this Vedanta from your own knowledge, it's not going to come out properly. So, the one who knows also knows that I am not a pramata, I am not a knower in reality. That is the truth. There is no contradiction or anything here. So, Shrutyoha avirodaha. There is no contradiction. It's all reconciled properly because what? Vritti vyapyatva angikarena phala vyapyatva pratishedha pratipadana. So why there is avirodha? How did we reconcile? This is the thing I explained to you, correct? The vritti vyapti or vritti vyapyatvam is there for Brahman or Atma. That means this akhandakara vrittis takes place in the mind and destroys the ignorance. This is true with reference to any knowledge which you have. Okay. But the phalavyapti they call it. Phalavyapti means what? Once the ignorance is gone, then I know it as an object. That is the phalavyapti. That is not accepted in case of Atmajnanam. In the case of Akhandakara Vritti, there is no phalavyapti because the mind, which itself is sentient due to consciousness, cannot do a phalavyapti or objectify the consciousness. So phalavyapyatvam is negated. Pratishedha is there. Phalavyapyatva pratishedha pratipadanat means it is revealed or it is said that phalavyapti or phalavyapyatvam is not there for Atma. Only vritti vyapyatvam is there. Means the ignorance with reference to Atma is destroyed, but Atma can never be known as an object. That part is called phalavyapti technically. So there is a vritti vyapti, phalavyapti. So any cognition, any knowledge means how do we talk about it? What is the epistemology? The traditional epistemology is that the Nayayika and all simply say that there is a indriya artha sannikarsha, or even modern science also what it says, there has to be some contact between your organ like eye and an object, and that too the contact is happening through light and all that, correct? Light gets reflected from some object into your eyes, and that's how something forms and all that. In the retina, there is a certain image which is formed. No, but even then, what we say, the golakam or the physical organ alone cannot see anything, correct? There is an indriya. That's why we talk about an indriya. That indriya is the one, the eyes as an indriya, as a sense organ, which is subtle, is the one which objectifies or which comes into contact with a particular object. But when that contact alone does not produce jnana, the Advaitin, what does the Advaitin say or the Vedantin says? The contact only facilitates the Chaitanyam. Okay, the Chaitanya which is already there in your mind, correct? It is manifest in your mind. The Mana Upahita Chaitanya, correct? Antakarana Upahita Chaitanyam it is called. The consciousness which is conditioned by your mind goes out through the indriya when it is in contact with an object and takes the form of the object. So, in fact, everything is Chaitanyam only. But still, there is a Vishaya Upahita Chaitanya and Antakarana Upahita Chaitanya. Like this, two things are there. It is like space is one, correct? But I have one part. I have another part. Now you say this part space is there, this part space are separate, correct? Then there is no jnanam in this case. The object is there somewhere. You are a pramata, you are a knower. How do you become a knower? Because the consciousness, your mind conditions the consciousness, so you are a knower. How is the object there? Because the object is there with certain qualities, etc. That is also conditioned consciousness alone. Even though it is a jada padartha and all that, consciousness is common. It is there everywhere. So there is a Vishaya Upahita Chaitanya or consciousness conditioned by object. Then you are there as a knower. The Antakarana Upahita Chaitanyam. You are the consciousness conditioned by your own mind, Antakarana. When these two are not aligned, there is no knowledge. But how does it get aligned? It is like two parts are there now within each other. Then what happens? They are actually conditioning the same space, correct? Like that, this Chaitanya goes through the Indriya when the Indriya comes in contact with the object and takes the form of the object, we say. That is the manovritti, in fact. The manovritti or the state of mind or modification of mind is nothing but the mind goes out. Mind is subtle, that's why. And it takes the form of the object. Then what happens? The Vishaya Upahita Chaitanyam, the Chaitanya conditioned by the Vishaya or object and the Chaitanya conditioned by the knower, the Antakarana, they become one. Or one, the object comes within the fold of your mind, you can say. Then knowledge takes place. Then the ignorance is destroyed, they say. When this happens, the object ignorance is destroyed. That part, up to that part is called vritti vyapti. Okay? Because the mind has pervaded the object to destroy the ignorance with reference to that object. Then the phala vyapti means what? Then I know this is an object. I know this as a part, correct? This is part, like that I know. That is called phala vyapti. But in the case of Atma, the akhandakara vritti only destroys the ignorance, but you cannot know this is Atma like that as an object. That is not possible. There is no phala vyapti. So I hope these two things are clear to all of you. It's very important to understand this. This is an important thing because this is the main difference in Atma Jnanam with reference to any other knowledge. And the problem is that in our life, we have always known everything as an object of our mind, correct? We objectify everything and know. But here, you cannot objectify, you need not objectify. That is the important point you have to understand. You are as you are already. You don't have to objectify yourself. Okay, so how does this author say all these things? He's not making it up himself. He is quoting now Panchadashikara, Vidyaranya, Taduktam, Phalavyapyatvameva asya Shastra Kritbihi Nivaritam. So by the, again, our Panchadashikara also is not his own opinion. He says whoever the Shastra Kritbihi means those who are the Sampradaya Vits or Sampradaya Krits, those who have created this methodology of teaching. Okay, our Purvacharyas, they have negated Nivaritam, means they have negated only Phalavyapyatvam for Atma Brahman, Phalavyapyatvam alone, Phalavyapyatvam Yeva Asya. Okay, Asya Brahmanaha we have to take. But to destroy the ignorance with reference to Brahman, correct? Brahmani Ajnana Nashaya, for the purpose of destroying the ignorance with reference to Brahman. That Brahman is an Ajnana Vishaya is accepted by everybody. Okay. But what is the Ashraya of Ajnana? There are differences. See, whenever we talk about ignorance also, two things are discussed in the Shastra by different people. What is that? One is, is Brahman the object of ignorance? Yes, that everybody accepts. It's the Vishaya. Because ignorance means ignorance with reference to something and who has that ignorance, correct? Two things we have to talk about. The locus of ignorance and the object of ignorance. Now, this Brahma Jnanam or Brahma Ajnanam and Atma Ajnanam, when we talk about, Brahman as a Vishaya of ignorance, everybody accepts. There is no contradiction or whatever. There is no controversy there. But then who has this Ajnanam? Means some people say Jiva alone has the Ajnanam. Brahman cannot have Ajnanam. But the majority view is that Ajnanam also, where can it be there? Everything is resting only in Brahman anyway, correct? Ajnanam is also equally Mithya. And all Mithya has, for its very being, the Satya Vastu only, correct? Satyam alone is the locus of all the Mithya. Wherever there is Mithya, there is Satyam. So, the majority view you can say is that Brahman itself is the Ajnana Ashrayam also. It's not only the Ajnana Vishaya, it is also the Ajnana Ashraya. But anyway, everybody, since it is Ajnana Vishaya, that Ajnana has to be destroyed. That also everybody accepts. So for the purpose of destroying this ignorance with reference to Brahman as Atma, Vritti Vyaptihi Apekshita. Vritti Vyapti is required. It depends on Vritti Vyapti. But Phala Vyapyatvam is not there for Brahman Atma. That has been negated by the Shastra Krit, whoever has created or whatever created the teaching methodology here, we have to say. Shastra Krit means literally it is not that they have created something. The Upanishad as a pramanam is apaurusheya. It's not created by anybody, but you can say the teaching methodology is coming down also, correct? So this is talked about in Panchadashi. One more thing also he quotes from the same chapter. Swayam prakashamanatvat nabhasa upayujyate. So that which is self-revealing need not be revealed by anything. It cannot be shined upon by anything else, correct? So it does not require any illumination. That which is Swayam Prakasha, correct? It need not be illuminated by anything. That which is not, if it is a Jada Vastu is there, it is there in a dark room, then you require light to illuminate it. Then only you can see. But if sun is shining, you don't require anything to illuminate it, correct? Swayam prakashamanatvat nabhasa upayujyate also. That means the phalavyapti is not there. That is the point here also. So, jada padartha akarita chitta vrittehe visheshaha asti. So, now, in fact, the author is talking in the reverse order. I already explained this point to you, correct? So what he is saying here is, till now we talked about the Akhandakara Vritti, how it doesn't have Phala Vyapti, it has only Vritti Vyapti and all that. But now he is talking about regular knowledge. He says, Jada Padartha Akara Akarita. Means Jada Padartha Akara means the form of any insentient object like a part, whatever it is, correct? And that form, Akara, Akarita means what? That form is taken up by the Chitta Vritti. This is the process I explained to you already. I told you that when the Indriya Artha Sannikarsha happens, when there is a contact between the Indriya and the object, what happens is the mind goes through the Indriya and takes that form, that Akarita Chitta Vrittehe means that mind has taken the form. Then the whatever consciousness is actually conditioned by that vritti, because the vritti is now taken the form of that object. They both are now conditioning the same consciousness. It is like I told you, the two parts are there within each other, means they are actually limiting the same space, correct? Even though space can never be limited or anything, it's all only from with reference to the particular upadhi. Understand that. We are not saying that consciousness is really conditioned or anything. That conditioning also is only mithya. But anyway, so the Jada Padartha Akara Akarita Chitta Vrittehe Visheshaha Asti. There is a difference with reference to when we talk about the Jada Padartha, because here Phala Vyapti also happens. Okay, so he points that out. And so in fact he explains that Tathahi. So what is that? So further he is explaining, because I am Gataha iti Ghatakara Karita Chitta Vrittihi Ajnatam Ghatam Vishayikritya Tadgata Ajnana Nirasana Purassaram Swagata Chidabhasena Jadam Ghatam Api Bhasayati. So once the Chitta Vritti is there and it has taken the form of the object like Ghata, okay, then what happens? Ajnatam Ghatam Vishayikritya. So once it has taken the form of the part which is not known before, then what happens? Tadgata Ajnana Nirasana Purassaram. So that whatever Ajnana is there with reference to that particular part, that is destroyed. Okay. After that what? Purassaram Swagata Chidabhasena. Because your mind is already conditioned, or there is a consciousness which is manifesting in your mind. With that, you are again illuminating that particular object, and that is how you know that this is a part. Like that cognition takes place, because that Jada Padartha is also illuminated by the consciousness which is manifesting in your mind, And that consciousness which is manifesting in your mind only is called the knower. The knower or the pramata is, as I told you, so there are three conditioned consciousnesses are there when we talk about. Again, the word consciousnesses and all, I'm using plural. Don't think that there are many consciousnesses. It is only with reference to the, like we are saying, there are three part spaces, even though there is only one space. Okay. Like this. So here the knower is the antakarana upahita chaitanyam. The consciousness which is manifesting in one's own internal organ or mind is the knower. The consciousness which is manifesting again in the part is the Vishayakara Chaitanya or Vishaya Upahita Chaitanyam. And then when a part of your mind goes through your Indriya and takes the form of that object, all three are aligned now. That is called Vritti Upahita Chaitanya. So Mano Vritti Upahita Chaitanyam and the Vishaya Upahita Chaitanyam become one. When that happens, the ignorance is destroyed, and then that object itself is illumined by again your Antakarana Upahita Chaitanya. That is the Phalavyapti we talk about. And then the knowledge takes place as I know this part, this is part, like that, as an object of your knowledge. That is what the Swagata Chidabhasena. So Abhasa means you can say some kind of a manifestation only, or it can even mean distortion and all that. Basically, it is an appearance, you can say. Consciousness appears in one's own mind. Correct? That's how one takes oneself as a sentient being. Correct? Aware, whoever I am aware. Correct? I am an aware being. I have awareness, etc. That is the Chidabhasa we talk about. And that Chidabhasa has to light up this Jadam, this insentient object. Then only it becomes known to you. So like this is the normal process where both vritti vyapti is this portion. Gatakara karita chitta vrittihi. Ajnatam gatam vishayikritya tadgata ajnana nirasana purassaram nirasana. Up to this is the vritti vyapti. After this what? Once the vritti vyapti is over, then Swagata Chidabhasena Jadam Ghatamapi Bhasayati. This part is the Phalavyapti. Both are there in normal knowledge. And that also has been said by Panchadashikara in next chapter, in the 7th chapter. He says, Buddhi Tatstha Chidabhasau Dvau Api Vyapnutaha Ghatam Tatra Ajnanam Dhiya Nashyet Abhasena Ghataha Spuret. So here that whole process is explained. So in the buddhi, there is a manifestation of consciousness. That is what is called Chidabhasa. Buddhi tatstha. Tatstha means whatever in that, whatever is appearing in that there is a appearance of or manifestation of consciousness in one's own buddhi. Both of them, the mind only goes and takes the form of the gata, correct? It pervades the gata. And along with that, the manifested consciousness also goes and takes the form. So once that happens, so dvau api, both of them, ghatam vyapnutaha, when they pervade or take the form of the ghata, tatra ajnanam dhiya nashye, the ignorance is destroyed by the vritti, the manovritti, and by the consciousness which is manifest in that vritti, the gata is known as an object of your knowledge. Correct? Gatahas puret. So this process is clearly explained here. So this is our understanding of how knowledge takes place. So this is important for you to understand. So finally what? Yatha Deepa Prabha Mandala Mandakara Gatam Ghatapatadikam Vishayi Kritya Tadgata Andakara Nirasana Purassaram Swaprabhaya Tadapi Bhasayati iti. So this is again, they are giving an analogy here for you to understand. There is a dark room. There you cannot see anything, even if objects are there. Correct? Gata pata means gata is pot, pata is cloth. So in a room, dark room, pot and cloth, etc. are there. Then you shine a light there. Deepa Prabha. Okay, the lamp. You bring a lamp. Then what? When the lamp is shown there, the lamp then lights up and then removes the darkness there and then shows you. It makes Vishayi Kritya here is that lamp is actually now showing you all the objects there, and it is also showing itself. Swaprabhaya tadapi bhasayati iti. So the lamp reveals itself and also reveals all the objects which are there in the dark room. Similarly, this Chidabhasa reveals itself and the object also, because there can be a question, how do you know that Chidabhasa itself? You are saying Chidabhasa is the one which is lighting up, correct? And who will light up? That means there is nothing separately required, because it itself is Chidabhasa, correct? It is a manifestation of consciousness only, that is self-revealing. It need not be revealed by another. Then it will become an infinite regress, correct? To avoid infinite regress only, this analogy is given so that you understand clearly. So with this whole process of how this knowledge takes place has been explained to you very, very clearly, I hope. Of course, if you have any questions and all that, this can be a little bit technical. Don't hesitate. Okay, you can ask me. But this is how knowledge takes place. Now we are actually moving to another totally new topic. How does this knowledge, this Vritti Jnanam also has to take place, correct? So what is the Sakshat sadhana for that? What are the means by which we can gain this knowledge? So evam bhuta swaswarupa chaitanya sakshatkara paryantam Shravana Manana Nididhyasana Samadhi Anushtanasya Apekshitatvat Tepi Pradarsyante. So how do I get this knowledge? How do I get this Akhandakara Vrittihi? Okay. So Evam Bhuta Swaswarupa. Bhuta means here living beings. For any living being, its own nature, for a being to understand one's own nature and gain this appreciation, direct appreciation or direct knowledge of oneself as a conscious being, correct? Chaitanya Sakshatkara Paryantam. So to attain that end, okay, there is a dependency or there is a means you require, correct? To attain any end, you require a means. What is the means in this case? Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Shravana Manana Nididhyasana is generally given as the means. But this author also is adding Samadhi as a sadhana. Okay. Samadhi as a special sadhana because he is more into yoga also. But yoga as a sadhana is accepted by all Vedanta acharyas. And it's a very important sadhana. So he has brought in the Samadhi also here. Samadhi anushtanasya apekshitatvat. So there is a apeksha, there is a dependency on doing all these things. You have to first study the Shastra, then do mananam of that. In fact, he is going to explain to you all these things again. What is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana? And under Samadhi, he will explain the entire Ashtanga Yoga also for you. So he is giving a very beautiful introduction to all these things. So the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Samadhi, Anushtana, all these things are required or it is dependent on that. So that I am going to know Pradarsyante. I'll now be describing or showing it to you that. And then what is a Shravanan Nama? What is Shravana? Listening, fine. But listening also, there is a way of listening, correct? And what is the phala of listening? What do you achieve by listening? And how do you listen? So Shravanan Nama Shadvidha Lingaihi Ashesha Vedantanam Advitiya Vastuni Tatparya Avadharanam. So Shravanan Nama, Listening means what? Means you use sixfold indicators, Shadvida Lingaihi. So there are 6 indicators are there. Whenever you study the Shastra, how do you arrive at the meaning? That Shastra only reveals this. Shastra being in the form of words, different people are also interpreting differently. How do you know what is the truth? What Shastra is really revealing? You are ready to accept Shastra as a pramana, fine. But still, that pramana, what is it revealing to me? How do I arrive at that? Means you have to do Mimamsa. The Purva Mimamsakas have already done all this for us. We are only taking their principles and using it even in the Jnana Kanda. So for Karma Kanda also same principles apply. What does the Veda really reveal there, or what it wants us to do, etc. How do we arrive at means? We have to use 6 indicators. Shad lingas are there. Shadvida linga. 6 types of indicators are there. Based on that, we have to arrive at what is revealed by the Ashesha Vedantana, means by all the Vedantas, means all the Upanishads and whatever is there at the end portion of the Veda, the Jnana Khanda of the Veda, the entire Vedanta. Okay, what is their intention? What they want to reveal to you really means Advitiya Vastuni Tatparyam. So their intention is to only reveal the Advitiya Vastu. Their intention of revealing is only with reference to this Vastu or this whatever it is, correct, the object, subject, which is non-dual. The non-dual Vastu alone is the subject matter of revelation of the Shruti, of the Vedanta. You are very clear about that. By applying all this Shadvidha Linga, this is what the Shruti is teaching. Shruti means here Guru only has to teach you through the Shruti. Sorry, through the Guru, the Shruti is taught or Shruti is revealed. Guru teaches you. And so that vision of, what is the vision of Shruti, which I have to internalize now? That has to be first clear. Okay. So that's what we gain. We understand by listening to the Shastra, what the Shastra actually is revealing about me. Because I have a certain idea or avichara siddha, that is called, correct? I have taken myself for granted without doing any analysis. I think I am an individual confined to a particular body, mind, sense complex. That is my understanding of myself. And this has not been arrived at by any analysis or anything. This is how I have taken myself. But what is the vision of the Shastra for you? What does it say you are really? So understanding that is Shravanam. That's what you gain from listening to the Guru. That's a very most important thing, is that in fact, Shravanam is the main thing. Everything else follows that. Without Shravanam, in fact, our Paramarthananda ji used to give a beautiful analogy. You want to take coffee. Now, at least the South Indian coffee we don't drink without sugar, correct? We put sugar and then we have to mix it. Now, in many houses, if you go, what they will give, sometimes they'll give you coffee, but they won't mix the sugar at all. They'll put the sugar and give it to you. And then you take one sip, then you think there is no sugar. Then they'll say, no, you have to mix it actually. Now that Shravanam is like that sugar. Sugar has to be there, correct? First you have to add sugar. If you don't add the sugar, you cannot, even if you do mixing or whatever, it's not going to help. If the sugar itself is not there, what are you going to mix? The mixing action is useless then. Like that, first you have to study the Shastra, understand what the Shastra is saying. All the assimilation and all is like mixing, correct? Manana Nididhyasana is only following Shravana. Without Shravana, it is like you are mixing the coffee without adding any sugar. What is the point in that? Why I have to say this is because many people have some aversion about studying the Shastra or going to a guru and all that. Unless you study the Shastra, Shastra is a pramana for us here, means of knowledge. All the manana nididhyasana and all come into the picture if the Shravanam is not effective. In fact, it will not be effective for 99.99% of the people. Because you are not ready anyway. So manana nididhyasana also is there. Practically speaking, it is there, but you cannot say that I will only do meditation, I will do only samadhi anushtana, yoga abhyasa, etc. without studying the Shastra. That is like what we say, coffee aatharadu, correct? Without adding the sugar, you are trying to mix. It's useless. So Shravana is the most important anga, and so we will, or it is in fact called Angi. Shravana is the Angi, Manana Nididhyasana, Samadhi Anushtana, etc. are all only Angas. They all have to lead you to understand whatever Shravanam you have done, that has to be assimilated, correct? For that purpose alone, Manana Nididhyasana and whatever other sadhana you do, and that Shravana alone brings the knowledge. That knowledge alone is moksha. So that's how we understand this. So rest of the things, what are the 6 lingas, etc., we'll see next week. It's very interesting. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.